Voting will take place verbally. A delegate who casts a vote must identify herself or himself by name, as well as the provinces he or she represents. All votes shall be recorded accordingly. Honorable members, we will now proceed to the first order of the order paper. Consideration of the Division of Revenue Bill, B3 2020, and report of the Select Committee on Appropriation thereon. I now call upon Honorable Mahlangu, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Appropriations, to present the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, special delegate present, and fellow South Africans. It is my honor and privilege to table before this House this report on behalf of the Select Committee on Appropriations. The committee adopted the Division of Revenue Bill B3 2020 without amendments. Honorable Chair, as you are aware, on the 18th of March 2020, the bill was passed by the National Assembly and referred to the NCOP Committee for consideration and report as per Section 9, subsection 2 of the Monetary Bills Act. On the 22nd April 2020, the committee was briefed by the National Treasury. Owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee decided that all provincial portfolio committees on finance or treasury should be part of the meeting. The committee was empowered by the presentations from the PBO, FFC, and SALGA. Honorable Chair and members, the committee has a responsibility to facilitate public participation when processing the bill. To this end, this report has been enriched by the submissions by various individuals and organizations. The committee considered the submitted provincial negotiating mandates on the 21st and 27th May 2020 in fulfillment of Section 214, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic that enjoins their comprehensive participation by provinces. Today, the 2nd of June, marks day 68 since the president of our country declared a national lockdown in terms of the Disaster Management Act in order to slow down the spread of the coronavirus. Under normal circumstances, honorable members, we will be looking forward to our national activities of celebrating Youth Month and commemorating the 44th anniversary of June 16. We have just emerged from celebrating Africa Month, Workers Month, 57th anniversary of the founding of the OAU. We appreciate the leadership, honorable members, through you, Chairperson, provided by the President and the Executive during this time. Our country has vastly diverse opinion, racialized and gendered poverty, unemployed and inequality. However, more than ever, we need unity and caring for the poor, the aged, and the most vulnerable in our society. Our nation is founded on the values of Ubuntu, as articulated in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Government, through the Division of Revenue Bill, strives to achieve social and economic justice. The Constitution demands that this bill should determine the equitable division of revenue between national, provincial, and local government. The economic growth in our country has been slow, even before the COVID-19 crisis. We all are aware of that. In this report, Honorable Chairperson, the committee highlights that the 2020 national budget allocation of 1.77 trillion rands, which is an increase of 83.7 billion rands or 5% in terms of percentages, from the 2019-20 adjusted allocation of 1.66 trillion rands. The budget is expected to increase to 1.94 trillion rands over the 2021 financial year MTF period at an average rate of 4.98%. Of the overall allocation, the national government received 1.2 trillion rands in 2020-21 financial year, which is an increase of 44 billion rands or 4% from the 2019-2020 adjusted allocation. The provinces received 538.5 billion rands and local governments 74.7 billion rands in 2020-21 financial year. The March talked about 160.1 billion rands reduction of the public service wage bill will be implemented in the 2020-21 adjusted budget. And listen, once agreed in the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council, that will be determined by the PSCBC. Honorable members, through you, Chairperson, the committee notes with concern the service delivery or implications of the reduction of the provincial equitable share allocation amounting to 7.3 billion rands and the reduction to the direct conditional grants to provinces amounting to 13.3 billion rands. The committee welcomes the prioritization of funds, including increasing the per child subsidy for early childhood development service over the next 3 financial years, addressing shortfalls in the funding of community outreach services in the health sector, supporting the continued rollout of the free sanitary products to learners from low-income households, and repairing wastewater treatment infrastructure in the Vaal River system as a response to the previous committee's recommendation. The committee also welcomes the several disaster provisions in the 2019 Division of Revenue Act have already been activated to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Honorable Chairperson, knowing the importance of education in addressing the challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty, and education infrastructure backlogs, particularly in schools, the National Treasury should review the baseline reduction of the education infrastructure grant and the school infrastructure backlog grant in the MTF period. The committee is also concerned about the baseline reduction in the provincial roads maintenance grant in the light of the accidents in our roads due to poor road maintenance. We are, however, Chairperson, encouraged by the reinvest 544 million rands within the Human Settlement Development Grant to upgrade the human settlement in mining towns in 6 provinces. With regard to the suspension of the public transport network grant for Buffalo City, Mbombela, Msunduzi, the committee believes that the Minister of Finance, together with the Minister of Culture and the Minister of Transport, relevant provincial treasuries, and SALGA, should take drastic measures to ensure that adequate support and capacity development interventions are implemented in these municipalities, as said above. The committee will continue to monitor progress in this regard. This committee noted the views that the local government equitable share of 9% of the nationally raised revenue is not cost reflective, while the sphere is responsible for 46% of constitutional functions. The committee is of the view that scientific evidence must inform the review of
I'm sure the team of Advocate Pindela there will do its best to assist to reconnect Honorable Matla. Are we back? And if so, let's get back to Honorable Matlangu.
Honorable Chairperson.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. You're back. Why don't we proceed? Please proceed.
Pardon?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Must I start afresh?
More or less where you left off.
Yes.
I don't remember, Chairperson.
Okay. I'm sure
okay.
you can look down the paragraphs. I'm sure paragraph 5 or 6.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson.
Recommendations.
Pardon? Chairperson, thank you very much for the opportunity, and my apologies for the disconnection. The committee findings and observations are as follows in the report. The committee notes with concern the service delivery implications of the reduction in the provincial equitable share allocation amounting to 7.3 billion rands and the reduction to the direct conditional grants of provinces amounting to 13.3 billion rands. The committee welcomes the prioritization of funds, including increasing the pre-child subsidy for early childhood development services over the next 3 financial years, addressing shortfalls in the funding of the community outreach services in the health sector, supporting the continued rollout of the sanitary products to learners from low-income households, and repairing wastewater treatment infrastructure in the Val River system as a response to the previous committee's recommendation. Honorable Chairperson, we also welcome that the several disaster provision in the 2019 Division of Revenue Act have already been activated to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Knowing the importance of education in addressing the challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty, and education infrastructure. My apologies, Chairperson. Infrastructure backlogs, particularly in schools. The National Treasury should review the baseline reduction of the Education Infrastructure Grant and the School Infrastructure Backlog Grant in the MTEF period. The committee is also concerned about the baseline reduction in the Provincial Road Maintenance Grant. We are, however, encouraged by the reinforce the 544 million rands within the Human Settlement Development Grant to upgrade human settlement in mining towns in 6 provinces. With regards to the suspension of the public transport network grant for Buffalo City, Mbombela, and Msundisi, the committee believes that the Minister of Finance, together with the Minister of Culture and Minister of Transport, relevant provincial treasuries and SALGA should take drastic measures to ensure that adequate support and capacity development interventions are implemented in these municipalities. The committee will continue to monitor progress in this regard. The committee noted the views that the local government equitable share of 9% of the nationally raised revenue is not cost reflective, while the sphere is responsible for 46% of constitutional function. The committee is of the view that scientific evidence must inform the review of the local government equitable share formula in a fair and equitable manner. Honorable Chairperson, the committee believes that the government should ensure that concrete steps are taken to address challenges that have led to under-expenditure and underperformance of conditional grants, such as the Maths, Science and Technology grant and the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program grant. National government, provincial treasuries and SALGA should ensure that municipalities develop mechanisms in line with the COVID-19 interventions for the additional 20 billion rand allocated, proposed by government for municipalities, so as to avoid wasteful and fruitless expenditures. The Minister of Finance should ensure that additional allocation for drought relief for all provinces are considered during the 2020 adjustment budget. In light of the fact that the Minister of Culture has declared South Africa a disaster drought area on the 26th February 2020. In conclusion, Chairperson, allow me to thank the committee members, the provincial committee members, the committee stakeholders, members of the public who made written and oral submissions to the committee, as well as the committee support staff. Without these role players, the process would not have been a success. The committee recommends that the House that the bill should be adopted without amendment. Ngiyathokoza, Chairperson.
Honorable Masango, thank you very much. Honorable members, that in a sense concludes the debate, but I shall now allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote in terms of Section 7.1, if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to make declarations?
Yes, Chair.
Yes,
Yes, Chair, can I continue?
Please continue. So there's, let me just note the members. There's Labuskagne.
There is Mabuyane.
There's Mabuyane.
There is Maluku.
There's no Mantu.
There's no Mantu.
Northwest.
Then there's Northwest.
There's
Cape.
There's Mpumalanga.
KwaZulu Natal.
There's KZN.
There is Northern Cape.
There's Northern Cape as well.
If you put Northwest, Chair.
5, 6, 7, no. There's Northwest, yeah.
Limpopo.
Let's start with Honorable Labuskagne.
Chairperson, I propose we can do
I
it
see there is
alphabetically
also
as we vote.
Charlie Squatte. Please proceed, Honorable Labuskagne.
And we're not going to do it alphabetically like we vote.
Like usual.
Maybe to work
The old
better.
process.
But let's start with Labuskagne.
Now, Chairperson, I just asked because nobody had a declaration until I put my hand up, but I'm so used to it, it's fine. Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson, the report of the Appropriation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill reflects the committee's deliberations on a bill which is destined to become irrelevant almost as soon as it is approved. The reasons for this are well known and understood, and this was therefore an opportunity to deliberate more deeply on the underlying principles of the bill rather than the specifics. Several provinces raised entirely valid concerns relating to the bill, including the ballooning national debt and the need to contain this, the pressures of rapid urbanization on local and provincial governments, and the slow statistical response to population migrations, mandate creep, and unfunded mandates that are thrust on local government, the difficulties of revenue collection, especially in a post-COVID-19 environment, issues around grant funding and its management, the massive impact of the drought experienced in several provinces, and perhaps most consistently, the failure of the current equitable share calculation methodology. Most consistently, the failure of the current equitable share calculation methodology. The Treasury has commented on these points, however, their position on many issues appears quite rigid. In the interest of balance, all these comments must also be interrogated through the lens of the shocking state of governance in local government. There appear, however, to be no consequences for poor governance. Treasury must find a way to incentivize good governance and reward municipalities that perform well, both financially and operationally. The need for a much more comprehensive budget lehotla with Treasury and local government has been discussed and agreed upon. This must be approached in an open-minded fashion. Government's role in assuring food security is going to become a key factor in the survival of our country. Expensive food imports pass costs on to consumers. The impact of the drought and farming generally needs serious focus. The division of revenue proposals were already flawed. In a post-COVID-19 South Africa, revenue collection is going to be profoundly problematic, and a total rethink of the funding of government as whole, but particularly at the coal phase of delivery, will be required. The Western Cape does support this report, but does not support this bill. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We will just to indicate that Mutlale Pulo Khosho from the Northwest is noted. So is Neo Maneng. But I'll call you as I move on. The next speaker is Premier Mabuyane, who's been leading from the front line. And we're really grateful for that. Please proceed, Premier.
Honorable Chairperson, members of the NCOP and special delegates from all provinces. As the province of the Eastern Cape, we support the division of revenue bill as it has been done in the fulfillment of the section 214 of our constitution. We further appreciate and applaud the extensive consultation that has taken place between national, provincial, and local government spheres, organized labor, as well as the work of the Financial and Fiscal Commission, and the recommendation they have made on the division of the revenue. Another Chairperson of the Eastern Cape will note the FFC recommendation and the response given by the government. However, we are concerned that the issues of our province that we have been raising with respect to the social infrastructure backlog are still not addressed. We do, however, believe that this can be addressed through the current review of the provincial equitable share formula, which is in addition to the point highlighted above, should take into context the cost of service delivery, especially in the rural areas, which have higher cost of service delivery due to vastness of the areas covered. We therefore reiterated, Chairperson, the call for the establishment of more rural bias conditional grants that are targeted for economic development in the rural hinterland. We have also raised our concern that the existing funding model of the provincial roads maintenance grants does not take into account the reality of rural provinces such as Eastern Cape, which have historical under expenditure and under investment, leading to under the development by the apartheid regime, as the allocation for maintenance is based on the surface roads, of which the province has only about 10% of surface roads, with the rest being unsurfaced. This means that the province is funded at a lower rate, a problem which needs to be urgently addressed. Lastly, Honorable Chairperson, as the Eastern Cape, we request National Treasury to review its decision to suspend the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality from the Public Transport Network grant. Rather, the department should develop measures to capacitate the municipality with respect to the grant. We commit that the Eastern Cape Provincial Government will provide the necessary support for this to be done. Suspension of the BCM from the grant will ultimately have adverse consequences on struggling communities in the metro, as it is the rural metro that are already suffering from what the National Treasury itself has been delivering services, with a significantly high unemployment rate and about 193,000 people who are not economically active, and 5,000 discouraged work seekers, reliance on public transport network. True decision will be implemented at a time where there is a global fight against this novel coronavirus, and the national strives to mitigate the impact of national lockdown, which amongst them include the improvement of public transport and network. Honorable Chairperson, despite the issues that we have highlighted above, we believe that the bill will provide an important legal framework for our province to continue carrying out its mandate and building the Eastern Cape we want. As mentioned earlier, Honorable Chair, the Eastern Cape supports the Division of Revenue Bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mabuyane.
Now
Now move over to Norman Raleigh Hooper from Gauteng.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of Gauteng Provincial Government, I take this opportunity to welcome and express our full support of the 2020 Division of Revenue Bill that was tabled in Parliament by Finance Minister Tito Mboweni in February this year. Our view is that the bill responds strategically to the broader context of the current fiscal environment, which is characterized by stagnant economy, dwindling revenue streams, and increasing demand of service delivery from our people. As a result of this fiscal pressure, the National Treasury revised the 2020 MTF fiscal framework and implemented budget cuts across all allocations to different spheres of government. As Gauteng, we have adopted Growing Gauteng Together 2030 plan to grow the economy and create jobs. This plan is aligned to the National Development Plan 2020 and its key priorities which are as follows. The first one is the economy, jobs and infrastructure. The second one is education, skills and healthcare. The third one is sustainable human settlement, new cities and land release. The fourth one is safety, social cohesion and food security. The fifth one is sustainable future for all. The seventh one is building a capable, ethical and developmental state. The last one is building a better Africa and a better world. In line with the spirit of national budget that in these challenging economic times, we must do more with less. We therefore took tough decisions when we structured our 2020-2021 Gauteng budget. We funded the priorities of the sixth administration as outlined in the GGT 2030 plan, which is Growing Gauteng Together. That was implemented baseline reductions and reprioritization, while minimally impacting our service delivery and directed funding to high growth sectors to stimulate the economy and create jobs. After the declaration of the national state of the disaster by the President Cyril Ramaphosa, and on advice by the National Treasury, we are working with departments to repurpose conditional grants to support efforts in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. In our province, we believe that we must repurpose aspects of the following grants: the National School Nutritional Program, Educational Infrastructure Grant, Public Transport Operations Grant, Health Facility Revitalization Grant, HIV, TB, Malaria, Community Outreach Grant, National Tertiary Services Grant, and Early Childhood Development Grant, and redirect these funds to COVID-19 related support within the respective sectors. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Normand will then be followed by Mutlalepu Lekosho, Northwest.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me appreciate, and honorable members, good afternoon. Let me appreciate this opportunity for one to participate on this sitting. And as the Northwest, on behalf of the provincial government, as the Northwest, would wish also to support the report as well as the tabling of the division revenue bill. One must welcome all the comments made by the chair. However, Honorable Chair, we want as a Northwest to put on record that the equitable share formula remains to be a challenge in our province in making sure that we are able to provide services to our people. That is, however, important that from time to time in the NCOP, we need to continue to reflect on the equitable share, the provision of equitable share, especially for our rural provinces like Northwest. Coupled with that, Honorable Chair, one would want also to raise sharply the challenges that are confronting the Northwest, especially on water and sanitation challenges. It remains a daunting challenge within our province. We continue to be confronted by dissatisfaction from our communities as a result of water and sanitation challenges. Inclusive of that, during our period of COVID-19, in response to COVID-19, Honorable Chair, I must indicate that the water challenges in our province, especially in the rural areas within the Northwest, remains an area of concern, whereby our communities raise them sharply in terms of how would they be able to comply with the rules and regulations in line with the COVID-19 regulations. As a result of that, Honorable Chair, I must also indicate and put on record within the NCOP that as we respond to COVID-19 as the Northwest Province, we've of course been supported by the Water and Sanitation Department by providing a number of trucks within our province. But with the budget challenges and budget cuts in where we need to realign and repurpose our budget and reprioritize, it has become very difficult for us to continue to reflect in response to the priorities of the province in the 6th administration, whereby in response to the budget cuts and reprioritization of the budget and repurposing of the grant, we as a Northwest Province, we have to contribute the 2.1 billion to the 30 billion in terms of what is required by the National Command Council. And in response to that, we have engaged with various departments with budget cuts, which I must say that it's a deep cut. It has serious implications for the Northwest to be able to respond to issues of challenges within our province. As we all know, Honorable Chair, Northwest it's a rural province. We have far-flung areas where we are having challenges of groundwater. So Northwest remain one of the provinces that, as and when we do all these budget cuts, we are weakened in responding to our priorities in the province, whereby water and sanitation is a priority, as well as the rural roads. Honorable Chair and honorable members, I would also wish to record that as a province, we are also worried about in terms of the equitable share of the of our rural municipalities, whereby we are unable to respond to the delivery of services to our people. Issues of ailing municipalities that are not self-reliant in terms of finance, in terms of collecting revenue. We've done an assessment as a province, and I must share with you that in terms of the assessment, we have now observed the observation as a provincial treasury, which we have actually even discussed at Budget Council, that interventions in line with the MFMA to support municipalities in line with the financial recovery plan becomes sacrosanct and important. We therefore would wish that in going forward, we need to prioritize that as provinces. And as the Northwest, we support the tabling of the budget. We support the report as tabled by the chair, and would vote that the report must go through. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutale Pule. Just to remind members that the declaration time slot should not exceed, in terms of own contribution, more than 3 minutes. So it's a plea. Mpumalanga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greeting to yourself and also to the Deputy Chairperson of NCOP, the permanent and non-permanent members of the NCOP. Chairperson, on behalf of the Mpumalanga province, we welcome and we would like to express our full support for the Division of Revenue Bill. We are of a firm belief that the bill gives expression to our commitment to bring sustainable development to all our communities whilst addressing the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Upon
we request the table and the team just to make sure that this problem is sorted. Please do your best there to get the Mpumalanga speaker back.
It's premier, not speaker.
Premier. I didn't mean the position, I meant the person speaking. But it's the premier, yes, I agree. So let's try and get the premier back.
Promulgation, the bill will
please assist.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but we're cut off a bit.
Yes. Now, Chairperson, I was saying that on behalf of the province of Mpumalanga, we want to welcome and express our full support for the Division of Revenue Bill. We are of the firm belief that this bill will give expression to our commitment to bring sustainable development to all our communities whilst addressing the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Upon its promulgation, the bill will also allow us to continue to invest resources in key projects that will serve as catalysts to the stimulation of the provincial economy. Through the apportionment of the resources as a result of the Division of Revenue Bill, we shall allocate 35 million towards the operationalization of the Nkomazi SEZ, as well as 357 million towards the construction of the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market. Both these projects will create considerable and sustainable employment opportunities in both the upstream and downstream sectors of the value chain. We shall further apportion 5 billion towards infrastructural investment, which is a prerequisite towards the stimulation of the provincial economy, especially when one considers the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on economies across the world. Chairperson, as we commemorate Youth Month, we as the Mpumalanga provincial government have put in place measures to develop SMMEs and cooperatives owned by young people through the apportionment of 50 million towards the Mpumalanga Youth Fund. This is consistent with the ethos of the Division of Revenue Bill, which gives expression to the commitment undertaken by the ANC-led government to put its measures in place to expedite the economic advancement of youth-owned enterprises. Honorable Chair, with these few words, allow me to join the people of Mpumalanga and all stakeholders in our province in welcoming the Division of Revenue Bill as a decisive expression of our will to work tirelessly to improve the lives of the people of Mpumalanga. Thokoze, Chairperson.
Malibongwe.
The next person to speak is from KZN.
Kalbongwe. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, for allowing us as KwaZulu-Natal to speak on this important discussion. Would want to indicate that we are in full support of this Division of Revenue Bill of 2020, as it was articulated by the chairperson of your own portfolio committee that side. Want to indicate that the Portfolio Committee on Finance in KwaZulu-Natal scrutinized the bill and even engaged with the National Treasury and other stakeholders, including our municipalities, as well as the academics of all universities of our own province. We requested them to make submissions, which we didn't receive, but they were part of the engagement when we were passing the bill. The reasons for supporting the bill are as follows. One, KwaZulu-Natal has been dealing with the budget cuts for 8 consecutive years, as you know, that we experienced the cuts of census 2011, but the service delivery has always been protected in terms of that. What we're able to do in the past 8 years was to cut the frills in order to ensure that service delivery for our own people is delivered on the ground. We have been covered by other rural provinces around issues of concern. There is no point for us to mention that particular area. So we would want also to indicate that we welcome the allocation of 22 billion rand for the conditional grants, as you also know that we are one of the provinces that are spending the conditional grants in line with the demands of the National Treasury. So we would want also to indicate that we are very much concerned about the exclusion of Msunduzi municipality in terms of the road infrastructure grant, but we have to take a decision to indicate that if there are challenges down there in Msunduzi, we as the Finance Portfolio Committee of KwaZulu-Natal would have to work with our counterparts so that they rejoin other municipalities that are enjoying that grant. Without wasting your time, Honorable Chairperson, would want to indicate that we are ready as KwaZulu-Natal to support the amendments that might be effected in terms of this bill as per the demands of COVID-19, because we are convinced that COVID-19 has to be defeated using all the resources that you have. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Northern Cape. Northern Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Deputy Chair of National Council of Provinces, honorable members, special delegates. The Northern Cape wants to commence by declaring that it supports the Division of Revenue Bill. It fully supports it. We want to say, as the province, we wish to express our confidence in the national government for its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We further wish to thank our frontline workers and all those organizations leading from the front to fight this pandemic. Our hearts goes out to the victims and casualties of the hidden enemy. As a country, we find ourselves in an unequivocal position in our quest to deliver services to the masses. This pandemic wreaked havoc in the economy and responding to it extraordinary measures, one of which required the reprioritization of the budget. And for sure, Honorable Chair, that will impact all provinces. The Division of Revenue Bill B3 2020, in line with the Section 214, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, requires that the bill determines the equitable division of nationally raised revenue between national, province, and municipalities. For our province, Chair, we want to also join other provinces in saying that the current formula in determining the equitable share is a contentious issue. The delivery of services to far-flung pockets of human settlement remains a challenge in the Northern Cape. The Financial and Fiscal Commission with National Authority should speed up the process of reviewing the current formula. As a rural province, we have adopted what we, as our vision as the province, we have adopted a modern, growing, and successful trajectory, and we will continue to do more with less. Honorable Chair, we are happy with the consultative processes in determining the equitable share, and we want to also emphasize that as the province, we call all stakeholders, our leaders nationally, that this process must be, because it affects the rural province negatively. In conclusion, we want to again say that we, as the Northern Cape province, we support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Northern Cape. Then there's Charlie. Honorable Charlie, can you please take the platform? Before we go to Neo Mane, let's start with Charlie.
Malibongwe.
Ya indoda yethu.
Ayikhuluma indoda sizwe. Please speak. Charlie.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Honorable Chair?
Yes, I can hear you now.
No, I'm saying for and on the behalf of the Northwest Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee on Finance, yes, we are supporting the bill in its present form as it is. We have also taken note, Chair, that no matter what we say or the concerns of the communities, the challenge that we have on and around issues of finances and funding is the funding model. But who is at the center of this challenge? It is a Financial and Fiscal Commission, which of course is responsible for, amongst others, to deal with issues of DORA and determine the particular model on how the institutions of the state are funded. And the present form in its shape makes provision for a more regulatory environment and less developmental capacity. Now, we would require, Chair, that the NCOP might have to consider engaging the FFC on a need to review the model, because the funding model only deals with matters of population, not matters on and around developmental backlogs, developmental gaps, modernization need. So the way it is, they are using the model called the Malcolm-Quist Productivity Assessment, which is measuring spending efficiency, and it is not necessarily looking into the impact. Now, we want to deal with this matter at one point because we have had an interaction with the FFC at the level of the NWPL, because theirs is about defining the functionality, and it is as per audit line, not impact concern. It's not driven by view of the users or beneficiaries. It is determined on and around issues of their own key performance indicators. So we might have to look into the framework, especially because amongst others in the context of their mandate, they are supposed to provide influential advice for an equitable, efficient, and sustainable intergovernmental fiscal relations system. But they have not achieved that. They are far from that. That is why where we are even having functions devolve, like the issue of the health inspection, one of the very important functions that we must be seeing happening, and it is not happening. It is devolved to the municipality, but they cannot do it because even our own allocations is not necessarily responding to the devolutions of the responsibility from provincial to a local municipality. So we make a submission as Northwest Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee on how we think there must be changes on the considerations of the funding model to help this matter. It is constructing the index that reflects the relative performance of a branch in 4 regions through the aggregation production function, but it is not necessarily directly responsive to the needs of the people. We support the bill in its form. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And because the time was up,
Your time is up.
Yes, please note that we should have at least have one declaration in the province. Mayor Oshomo would have noted by now that.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Yeah.
I know you have been struggling to find Honorable Squati to speak on behalf of Limpopo. I'm here. I don't know whether can I be given an opportunity to speak on behalf of Limpopo.
And you are?
I'm Makoma Makurupechi. I'm the member of the Portfolio Committee of Treasury.
Yes, Makoma, before
time, please, Chair. Time.
Before you speak, can I find out where the mayor will come from, Honorable Neo? From what province do you come?
Northern Cape.
Northern Cape, but Northern Cape has spoken already.
Yeah, he has already spoken, Chair.
Well, spoken, okay, thank you very much.
Chair, from Free State.
Makoma, you're the last.
Chair,
Honorable Makoma.
Chair,
can you also recognize Free State?
You can't all talk at the same time.
Thanks
Free State as well has raised his name. We've raised our hand. Requesting.
Please. Spare us the drama. Let's have Honorable Makoma speaking.
Chair, we're asking you to note us from the Free State.
Indeed, as the province of Limpopo were part of the discussion of the bill during the NCOP when the bill was discussed and presented by National Treasury. Some members of other provinces have raised some of the issues relating to how the allocations are done, because you'll remember Limpopo is one of the rural provinces. We take note that we might not say much in this bill because it's once we pass the bill in the next few months, obviously we'll be going to the budget adjustment. But the key issues that we want to indicate that while we are supporting the bill as is, but we want to continue to raise concerns that the provincial government of Limpopo is experiencing, that due to the infrastructure backlogs, COVID-19 exposed us in a bad way, because on the issues relating to school infrastructure that relate to your water and sanitation, Limpopo is still behind in terms of the backlog. So we want to make an input that says, when we go to the budget adjustment, we must go back to say, what are the implications of the backlogs that have been there before? That for us to be able to indeed to be at the level of other provinces, issues relating to infrastructure in schools need to be taken into consideration. The other matter that as a province we're worried about is when there is everybody must just reduce conditional grants, especially on the roads. Limpopo is one of the provinces that has got a lot of backlog on road infrastructure. We want to recommend that on the issue of road and infrastructure, Limpopo be allowed that on roads. We should not allow that budget cut towards COVID. And as well, I want to raise the matter relating to water services. In terms of the water infrastructure, we need a lot of support when we reconsider the budget. With those few words, we want to say we do support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair, Free State request to speak.
Free State.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair.
No, says anyone? I'm just checking whether anyone has spoken from the Free State.
No, I'm not aware, Chair.
No one has spoken, Chair.
No, okay. Let's then have the Free State speaking. Free State, you are the last.
Chair. Thank you very much. We welcome the opportunity. Indeed, we must appreciate that the majority of issues that we are equally representing have been shared by other provinces, and we'll try then to summarize our input. Chair, our understanding is that DORA provides for equitable division of revenue raised nationally, provincially, and in a local sphere. And our understanding as a province, our view, that indeed the allocations to provinces must reflect this philosophy. And as a province, we've got strong views that there must be a strategic shift, or a strategic shift must be arrived at in order to achieve the purpose for which DORA has been is attempting to help us. Chair, we have embarked on an extensive public consultation process on the bill, and indeed our people have raised concerns. I mean, various concerns were raised regarding the impact of the bill on our province, and the following represent our concerns. That's in short. We're saying as point number one that withholding of conditional grant is inappropriate, even if there's been transgressions in terms of the conditions of conditional grants, because our view is that it is the victim for which these things are intended, who are supposed to be beneficiaries that are suffering, as opposed to either municipalities or any others receiving this conditional grant.
Stop the corruption.
Our point number two is that our municipalities in the province are rural municipalities, and indeed are not economically viable. There's just no way that they will be, because there are high levels of unemployment and many, many other social challenges facing this municipality. And that's why we think that it's a result of that, or it is imperative that the allocation must increase if they are to deliver the desired services. Point number three, Chair, we're saying that the formula for allocation, I think in joining and supporting, in agreeing with other provinces, our allocation of funds must be reviewed to take into cognizance the issue of poverty index. We know that at the center of the determination of the allocation is the issue of the population, but we're saying, well and good, those population must also go deeper. The analysis must go deeper and also capture and integrate poverty index as per the province, because we think that our province is amongst the poorest in the country. And Chair, the other issue is that the considering that there should be as a special purpose grant focusing on the strengthening of district services model municipalities to ensure that sustainability of category C municipalities, where all trading functions are assigned to category B municipality. And the last point, Chair, is that we're arguing that our province is at the center of about 3 to 4 provinces, including Lesotho, another country. And as a result, this thing puts a strain on the infrastructure as well as the
time is up.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Free State is moving to support the bill. We vote in favor of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see there's a hand up from Honorable Dango. Captain has already spoken.
No, Chair,
yes.
Just to say that it's one declaration for province. I saw people raising their hands just to assist you, Chair.
Oh, okay. Can you please repeat that, Dango?
That it's only one declaration per province. Other
Oh,
people
okay,
have
okay.
their hands.
No, thank you very much. Long live Dango. That's the spirit. No, thank you very much. Honorable members, we will now proceed to voting on the question. And the question before us is that the bill be agreed to. Heads of delegation must indicate whether they are voting in favor, against, or they are abstaining. We'll go from province to province, starting, and we'll do so alphabetically, starting with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, please indicate your vote. Eastern Cape.
Yes, we are voting for the bill.
Eastern Cape agrees. Free State.
Yes.
Free State agrees. Gauteng
Gauteng agrees.
agrees. KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah, Seka.
KwaZulu-Natal.
Limpopo.
Limpopo supports the bill.
Limpopo supports the bill. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga votes in favor of the bill.
Favor of the bill. Northern Cape.
The Northern Cape supports the bill, Chairperson.
Northern Cape supports the bill. Northwest.
Northwest supports the bill.
Northwest supports the bill. Western Cape.
Cape does not support the bill.
Yeah.
Always.
Northwestern Cape does not support the bill.
As usual.
It's now closed. Members.
We are not surprised.
8 of 9 provinces.
You don't surprise for accountability here.
Out of 9 provinces, 8 support.
You don't support everything that.
I therefore declare the bill
cannot support.
in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution.
Yeah, we support it a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yay!
The next honorable members, we are now proceed to the second and third orders on the order paper. Report of Select Committee on Security and Justice on the suspension and or removal from office of Magistrate I. Mayberg, an additional magistrate in Johannesburg, and provisional suspension from office of Magistrate D. Naya, Chief Magistrate in Pretoria, respectively. I now call upon Honorable Sheikh. Honorable Sheikh. Select Committee on the report.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
Thank
left
you, and
with
good
it.
afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. Honorable Chairperson, on the matter of...
You left with it.
Honorable members, can I please call you to order? Let's now listen to Honorable Sheikh.
Once again, thank you and good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. Honorable Chairperson, on the matter of Ms. I. Mayberg, the Select Committee on Security and Justice, having considered the Minister's report tabled on the 27th of November 2019 and referred to the committee, informing Parliament of the suspension or removal from office of Ms. I. Mayberg, an additional magistrate at Johannesburg, pending consideration by Parliament of the recommendation of the Magistrates Commission for her removal from office in terms of Section 13, subsection 4A2 of the Magistrates Act 1993, reports as follows. Since her appointment on the 1st of October 2015, Ms. Mayberg has largely been absent from office due to continued ill health. On the 14th of March 2018, Ms. Mayberg's attention was drawn to the provisions of Regulation 29 of the Regulations on Judicial Officers in Lower Courts, 1994, setting out the procedure that is followed where a magistrate is removed from office due to continued ill health. Ms. Myberg was afforded an opportunity to comment and state a case in response with specific reference as to whether her illness was not so serious as to justify her removal from office or to suggest alternatives to removal from office. On the 18th of May 2018, the Magistrates Commission considered the documentation presented to it regarding Ms. Myberg's continued ill health and ordered that an investigation be held regarding her fitness to continue to hold office on account of ill health. Ms. Myberg was informed of the investigation and was requested to submit a medical report from a medical practitioner of her choice to the Commission. Ms. Myberg's representative submitted the required medical report dated the 21st of October 2018, which found that at the time, Ms. Myberg was completely impaired and unable to function in any professional context. The medical report found her unable to return to work. In a letter dated the 18th of April 2019, the Commission gave Ms. Myberg an opportunity to comment. Ms. Myberg's representative provided the Commission with the comments, but the response did not address the Commission's opinion that she is not fit to hold office as a magistrate any longer due to continued ill health, and that a recommendation to suspend her from office would be justified. Further, the response did not show cause as to why the Commission should not determine to withhold her remuneration forthwith. Neither Ms. Myberg nor her representative responded to the Commission's subsequent clarifying letter. On the 2nd of August 2019, the Commission met and resolved to recommend that Ms. Myberg be suspended from office due to continued ill health and determined that her remuneration be withheld with effect from the date on which the Minister suspends her from office. On the recommendation of the Commission, the Minister duly suspended Ms. Myberg from office and on the 26th of November 2019, tabled the report for consideration by Parliament. Honourable Chairperson, having considered the report tabled on the 27th of November 2019 by the Minister for Justice and Correctional Services on the suspension from office of Ms. I. Myberg, the committee recommends that the National Council of Provinces resolves not to restore Ms. I. Myberg to office as magistrate. Honourable Chair, on the matter of Magistrate D. Nair, the Select Committee on Security and Justice, having considered the Minister's report tabled on the 25th of February 2020 and referred to the committee, informing Parliament of the provisional suspension from office of Mr. D. Nair, the Chief Magistrate at Pretoria, pending the outcome of an investigation into his fitness to hold the office as magistrate as required by Section 13, subsection 3B of the Magistrates Act No. 90 of 1993, reports as follows. Mr. D. Nair is the Chief Magistrate, Judicial Head of Office, Pretoria, and the Head of Gauteng B Cluster. Mr. Nair was appointed to the lower court bench on the 1st of April 1996 and was appointed as a senior magistrate on the 1st of December 1999 and Chief Magistrate, heading the Gauteng Cluster at Pretoria on the 14th of November 2006. Following, after conducting a preliminary investigation and having considered the preliminary investigation report, the Magistrates Commission resolved to charge Mr. Nair with misconduct. A charge sheet dated the 29th of November 2019 containing 2 counts of misconduct was served on Mr. Nair and his representative. In a letter dated the 27th of November 2019, Mr. Nair was invited to show cause why the Commission should not recommend that he be provisionally suspended from office. Mr. Nair responded and furnished the Commission with his representations dated the 6th of December 2019. On the 12th of December 2019, having considered Mr. Nair's representations, the Commission resolved to recommend that he be provisionally suspended from office in terms of Section 13, subsection 3A of the Magistrates Act 90 of 1993. The Commission is of the view that the allegations against Mr. Nair are of such a serious nature as to make it inappropriate for him to perform the functions of a magistrate while the allegations are being investigated. On 24th of February 2020, The Minister, on the advice of the Commission, decided to provisionally suspend Mr. Nair with immediate effect, pending the finalization of an inquiry into his fitness to hold office as magistrate, and in terms of the Act, has submitted a report for consideration by Parliament. Honourable Chair, having considered the report tabled on the 25th of February 2020 by the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services on the provisional suspension from office of Mr. D. Nair, pending the outcome of an investigation into his fitness to hold the office of magistrate, the committee recommends that the National Council of Provinces confirm Mr. D. Nair's provisional suspension from the office of magistrate. Honourable Chair, I thank you.
Thank you very much. That, honourable members, concludes the debate, but I shall now allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote on the second order in terms of Rule 71, if they so wish. Please, members, be reminded that the declaration should not take more than 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wants to make a declaration on the second order? An indication of anyone wanting to speak? No. We shall now proceed to the voting of the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. That the report be agreed to. I now call on the provinces to cast their votes on the second order, and therefore I'm calling on upon heads of delegations who must indicate whether they're voting in favor, against, or abstaining. We'll go province by province and do so alphabetically, starting with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape?
We are voting in favor. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Voting in favor, thank you very much. Free State?
We are voting in favor, Chair.
Free State votes in favor. Gauteng?
Gauteng in favor, Chair.
Gauteng votes in favor. KwaZulu-Natal?
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka, Chair.
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka. Limpopo?
Limpopo supports.
Limpopo supports the report. Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga
In
supports.
favor, Chair.
Mpumalanga supports.
Mpumalanga supports, yes.
Northern Cape?
Noord-Kaap ondersteun die verslag.
Noordelijke Kaap ondersteun. Northwest?
Northwest votes in favor, Chair.
Northwest votes in favor. Western Cape?
Western Cape supports.
Western Cape supports. Voting is now closed. And in terms of how the provinces have voted, all 9 provinces have voted in favor, and I therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the third order, and in relation to this, we'll be asking for declaration of votes. But provinces have an opportunity to make the declaration of vote on the third order made. Maximum time allocated for declarations is 3 minutes. Is there any province that wishes to make a declaration on this point, on this order, the third order? None, I guess. And that being the case, that being the case, not decision being made, we should move on to voting on the question. We shall now proceed to voting on the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. I now call upon the provinces to cast their votes for the third order. When called upon to do so, heads of delegations must indicate whether they are voting in favor, against, or abstain. We'll go from province to province and do so alphabetically, starting with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape agrees.
Eastern Cape agrees.
Eastern Cape agrees. Free State.
Free State agrees.
Free State agrees. Gauteng.
Gauteng agrees.
Gauteng agrees. KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka.
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka. Limpopo.
Limpopo agrees.
Limpopo agrees. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga agrees.
Mpumalanga agrees.
Limpopo agrees.
Northern Cape.
Kapa Bokone iyadumela.
Kapa Bokone iyadumela. Northwest.
Northwest agrees.
Northwest agrees. Western Cape.
Western Cape agrees.
Western Cape agrees. Voting closed. And in terms of the results, 9 provinces supports and voted in favor of the report. I therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Thank you very much. We will then move over to the 4th and 5th order. Honorable members, we now proceed to the 4th and 5th orders on the order paper. Treaty and explanatory memorandum to the treaty between the government of the Republic of South Africa and the government of the Republic of Bangladesh on extradition and treaty, and the explanatory memorandum to the treaty between the government of the Republic of South Africa and the government of the Republic of Bangladesh on mutual assistance in criminal matters. I now call upon Honorable Shaik, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Security and Justice, to present the report.
Malibongwe.
Once again, thank you and good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. Honorable Chairperson, on the 30th of January 2020, the extradition treaty and the treaty on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters between South Africa and Bangladesh were referred to the committee for consideration and report. The committee was briefed on both treaties on the 11th of March 2020. Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution provides that an international agreement only becomes binding after it has been approved by resolution in both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Furthermore, Section 2, subsection 3A of the Extradition Act provides that no agreement is of any force unless it is ratified by Parliament. In the case of mutual legal assistance, Section 27, subsection 2 of the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Act 1996 contains a similar provision. At present, no extradition treaty or treaty for mutual legal assistance exists between South Africa and Bangladesh. The treaties, however, were preceded by a declaration of intent that was concluded between the countries in 1997. Extradition is the physical surrender of an accused or convicted individual to the state where he or she is accused or convicted of a crime by the state in whose territory he or she happens to be. However, a legal process is needed so that the state in which the crime took place can request another state to hand over a person accused or convicted of committing a crime to it. Mutual legal assistance between states becomes necessary in the context of transnational crime, as with no agreement in place, it is often difficult to investigate and prosecute crime if the suspects, key evidence, witnesses, and experts or the proceeds of the crime do not fall under the authority of the state concerned. Section 2, subsection 1(a) of the Extradition Act 1962 empowers the President to enter into an agreement with any foreign state providing for the surrender on a reciprocal basis of persons accused or convicted of committing an extraditable or specified offense within the jurisdiction of the Republic or the foreign state. In respect of the provision of mutual legal assistance, Section 27, subsection 1 of the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Act 1996 empowers the President similarly. President Ramaphosa authorized the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services to sign the treaties on behalf of the government of South Africa. The minister signed both treaties on the 1st of October 2019 in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Honorable Chairperson, the committee, having considered the request that Parliament approves the ratification of extradition treaty between the government of the Republic of South Africa and the government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, signed on the 1st of October 2019, recommends that the National Council of Province approves the ratification of the treaty in terms of Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution 1996. Honorable Chair, the committee, having considered the request that Parliament approves the ratification of the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in criminal matters between the Government of the Republic of South Africa and the Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, signed on the 1st of October 2019, recommends that the National Council of Provinces approves the ratification of the treaty in terms of Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shaik. That, honorable members, conclude the debate. I shall now allow provinces the opportunity to make the declaration of votes on the fourth order in terms of Rule 771, if they so wish. Again, iteration should not exceed more than 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wants to speak? Any province wishing to make a declaration?
None, Chair.
None. Thank you very much. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. I now call upon the heads of delegation to cast their votes on the fourth order. When called upon, heads of delegation must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. We'll do so from province by province and do so in alphabetical order. Let's start with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape?
Eastern Cape supports, Chair.
Eastern Cape supports. Thank you very much, Premier. Free State?
Free State supports, Chair.
Free State supports. Gauteng?
Gauteng
supports, Chair.
Gauteng supports with the many voices and so on. Eunice?
Yes, chaos.
Natal?
Good support.
KwaZulu-Natal, please.
Yes, Limpopo?
Limpopo supports.
Limpopo supports. Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga supports.
Mpumalanga supports. Thank you very much. Northern Cape?
Northern Cape supports.
Northern Cape supports. Northwest?
Northwest supports.
Northwest support. Western Cape?
Western Cape supports.
Western Cape supports. Votes have been closed. We will now look at how the province have voted. 9 out of 9 voted in favor of the report. I therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with the Section 65 of the Constitution. Thank you very much. We'll move to the next order. We shall move to the next order. Please bear with me here.
Since there's no orders anymore, we are done.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. I guess there's no order anymore. And that being the
on the fifth order.
That's the fifth order. Yes. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Let's look at the fifth order, members. Are there members wishing to make a declaration on the fifth order? Having done Bangladesh, we'll do the remaining part. Anyone wishing to make a declaration? None. We shall now proceed to voting on the question. And the question is that the report be agreed to. I now call on provinces to cast their votes on the fifth order, and when called upon to do so, heads of delegation must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. We'll do so in alphabetical order, going province by province. Let's start with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape supports, Chair.
Eastern Cape supports. Free State.
Free State supports, Chair.
Free State support. Thank you very much. Gauteng.
Gauteng supports.
Chair.
Gauteng supports. KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka, Chair.
KwaZulu-Natal iyayeseka. Siyabonga.
Limpopo supports.
Limpopo supports. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga.
Yes. Thank you very much. Northern Cape.
Northern Cape supports.
Northern Cape supports. Northwest.
Northwest Radumalana, Chair.
Northwest Radumalana, the report. Western Cape.
Western Cape supports.
Western Cape supports. We're now closing the voting. Now that voting is closed, let us indicate the results. The results are that all 9 out of 9 provinces have voted in favor of the report. I therefore declare that this report is adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Thank you very much. We are now at the point, honorable members, where we are about to adjourn, to end our meeting and adjourn the House. So without any waste of time, seeing that there's no other business, this concludes the business of the day, and the House is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Thank you.
Also tired. By the way,
Bye-bye, Comrade Premiers, MECs, special delegates. Yawong. Thank you, Comrade Premiers, MECs, special delegates. Yawonga.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip.
Thank you, Chief Whip. Sandamela, what's the problem?
You must defend. You must bring provinces to come and debate on the national question.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to
what
debate.
you always
I want to
do.
debate with Member Ocamp on that national question.
Yeah, no. That would be a good one. Great work. Thank you.
Ekwe Samu yo Prada and I hate.
Thanks.
Say, not since.
Please don't repeat an order so that we vote twice on the same order.
Kaya, sawubona KZN.
Hey, good point.
Honorable Nyampi, sawubona.
Deputy Chair. Hi, Deputy Chair. Deputy Chair. There you are.
Honorable Makluva, and then Honorable Modise, Honorable Likota, Honorable Ruas, Honorable Chavane, over to you, Honorable Mwala. Honorable Mwala, are you still there?
Yeah, Honorable Chair. Thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. I think, I want to first appreciate, Honorable Chair, the opportunity given to us as members of the Portfolio Committee to interact with the long overdue report, which was a bit of a problem in our previous meetings, where one of the honorable members was insisting that this report must come to the committee, this report must come to the committee, and so on. One Chairperson, the report is here now, presented by the department. I think I want to reflect on two issues. The first one is that we must acknowledge the fact that on this matter, the allegations which were leveled against the acting CEO, Ms. Fossey, were investigated thoroughly, according to my view and according to my understanding now, by the Public Service Commission, which is now the report is before us. And as per the minister briefings, that